everyone, this is Sarah Berman and you're watching Practically Writing. Welcome to my new place. Yeah, I know. What happened? Oh my gosh. Everything has changed. I'm currently in a hotel. So that is a thing. It's not as bad as it sounds. I'm just gonna say that all of the things that I've been talking about regarding my mental health over the past couple of years has come to a head, and this is what's going on right now. I am ironically far more optimistic right now than I have been in quite a while, so I think it's a good thing. I mean, it's not a good thing, but it's a thing. Let's go with that. It's a thing. Anyways, oh my gosh. Today's episode is going to be part 2 of Works in Progress. That is where you get to learn all about the fun things that I'm writing and what I'm working on right now, etc., etc. So buckle up. As usual, wait until the end to get all of the great announcements that are coming up, and we will see you in a minute. Okay, works in progress. My first work in progress for today's episode is the short story that I'm writing for an anthology. It is called The Switchblade Tattoo. This one is actually kind of very emotional for me, surprisingly emotional for me, because it was weird. I didn't expect it to be so hard-hitting, but it is, so there you go. The Switchblade Tattoo is about a woman named Viv. She is a sharp, which is skinheads against racial profiling. So it's like when skinheads recover from their racism, they become sharps. And they usually aren't very polite about it. You know, they're still in a gang. They're still gangsters. They're still very much violent kind of people. You know, living in the harsh environment of the urban streets, etc., which is a very poetic way of saying their lives still kind of suck sometimes, and it's pretty violent out there, and they are survivors, and they will survive, and they just like to particularly go after racists and punch them. So Viv is sharp. And one of the things that she does is she uses like the sharps, punks, and skinheads all have very, very similar aesthetic. It's actually kind of common for people who are sharps or punks, and punks tend to be sharps. So it's common for sharps and punks to pretend to be skinheads to kind of infiltrate and get closer to gang members, and then like completely mess up their entire lives. So that's what Viv is doing. She has infiltrated this small gang of skinheads who they also have magic. The skinhead gang actually uses magic to summon demons, commonly chaos demons, which they then send out with the specific intention of attacking people of color or marginalized groups that, you know, like apartment buildings that are mostly Mexican, or, you know, things like that. That's kind of like their thing. They also go out and like beat up the random person, but they do this other thing that causes a lot of really big problems. Viv is, well, she's kind of a hedge witch, which in modern parlance is when you have a street person, a person who mostly lives on the streets, whether they're actually homeless or not, a street person who has magic but tends away from the more formal stuff. So we're not talking like candles and herbs necessarily. I mean, we might light up a Zippo, we might, you know, light up a $2 candle or something, but, you know, we're not doing the huge formal stuff. She has a friend who inks spells into tattoos. So she has these tattoos that actually are spells. the whole thing is pretty much how this whole situation comes to a head. I didn't realize how much I kind of understood this kind of lifestyle. Like, I mean, I've never been in a gang. I've never even dated anybody in a gang. Well, my husband used to be in gangs like way back when, but he wasn't in any gangs, you know, from the time I met him on. So the fact that I picked up on this stuff so much kind of weirds me out. There's a lot of feeling of like American History X with this. Like, I think maybe because I liked that movie. I watched it a couple of times. And I think maybe I picked up way too much in regards to that. But, you know, there's a lot of violence. There's a lot of misogyny. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of danger. It's not a wholesome book. It's not a wholesome story at all. You know, I'm actually in the process of finishing it up pretty quickly. So I'd say I have maybe a quarter of it left, which for a short story really isn't that much, but it turned out way more emotional than I anticipated. So that is the Switchblade Tattoo, which will be sent off for Fiction Atlas Presses. One of their yearly anthologies is an anti-hero anthology, so that's where that's going. I'll keep you updated on that. Okay, the second whip that we're talking about today is actually another short story for another anthology. This anthology is vampires. I'm old in the sense that I grew up before the time of Interview with the Vampire. Well, no. I think Interview with the Vampire itself came out when I was in high school. Interview with the Vampire actually came out a couple of years before I graduated. So yeah, it was when I was in high school. But let me tell you something. Queen of the Damned rocked my world. Okay? Rocked it. Yeah, I know. It was like actually a compilation of like 3 books or something. I don't know. I didn't read the books. I didn't like her writing, okay? It's fine. Everybody's got their own tastes. So one of the interesting things that I got from Queen of the Damned was vampires being singers, because there's a lot of myth around vampires using their voices to, you know, enthrall people, to hypnotize people. The short story is called Enthralled, and it's about a band that is essentially vampires who are using their voices to enthrall their audience, to, you know, essentially throw themselves at their feet and allow themselves to be victimized. It follows a situation where another band figures out what's going on. They learn how to cancel out the enthralling. They kind of like take out the vampires. The vampires are not the good guys. The vampires are not the sexy guys. The vampires are predators, you know, because I'm kind of sick of the whole, you know, vampires are, well, I mean, you know, yeah, they are, but at the same time, I kind of want them to not be for a while, too. And lots of references to, like, groupie culture, so that should be amusing, at the very least. So that one's called Enthralled, and that one is going to be submitted for the second Fiction Atlas anthology. Bloodsport, I think is what it's called. Okay, my third whip is called The Lost Queen of Alfieri. This is the novel, the first novel, maybe first. It could be the only novel, I don't know. But I did write a short story called The Loyal Servant of Alfieri, which is kind of a prequel short story. You know, the thing is, I had some loose ideas about what the world was when I started on the short story. I know, I started the prequel before I started the actual book. I'm really liking the world. Like, really liking the world. I might just have to do a little bit more with this. But, okay, so anyways, Lost Queen of Alfieri is about Kayla, who, she was raised in the jungle. She was raised in the jungle by a jungle tribe. They're very, I don't want to say like typically Native American, but they kind of are. Like they're very, I would say they're actually very Aztecian. They may come across as primitive to the Eurocentric concepts, but they are actually extremely formal. They are extremely hierarchical. They have a lot of structure to their society. And they have certain abilities like skin slipping and other such things, which in Alfiri proper, in the kingdom of Alfiri, aren't exactly common. And they've been teaching Kayla this. So, Kayla's running around and she's like, oh, I'm going to take my first husband, because they're not polygamist, they're polyandrist. The women take multiple husbands. So they're polyandrist society. And she's like, oh, I'm going to take my first husband soon, and blah, 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 and yada, yada. And then a guy shows up from the capital of Alfiri, which, technically the jungle people are in this kingdom, and they acknowledge that they're in this kingdom. But it's kind of like, well, they pretty much ignore us, and we pretty much ignore them. So there you go. So this guy shows up and is like, the queen died. And everybody's like, oh no, the queen of Alfiri is dead. Now what? And he's like, well, Kayla, you're her daughter, so you're the new queen. And she's like, wait, what? So she goes from living in this jungle community where, she kind of knew her place and she understood that society. And then she's being taken to the capital city where, like, they're hugely into assassinating each other, and that's why she was sent away in the first place, is because once a child turns 3 years old, they are formally acknowledged as an heir, and therefore they can be assassinated. Kayla was sent away when she turned 3 years old so that she wouldn't have to be constantly in danger of being killed. So she's going into that particular lion's den, and there's politics and intrigue and such like that, so it's going to be fun to write. Very complicated, much more complicated than what I'm usually writing, so that's why it's taking me a while to really flesh out the plot on this one, because I want to make sure it's good. The fourth whip that I'm working on is called The Queen's Descent. This one is, I'm actually really proud of this one. Like, it is, I think, a relatively unique take. It does have aspects of Anne McCaffrey's, like, this city who fought and the ship who sang and all of that, where you have the pod people and the sentient kind of equipment things going on. So the city is created to foster the entire population. But in order to make sure that this artificial intelligence doesn't go all like, Rise of the Machine, it has a Bluetooth telekinetic connection with the queen of the city. So the head of the city for the human population is the queen. She is linked to this AI. So they kind of like work in concert. So you have a very sophisticated program combined with the human empathy, the human element that might otherwise be missing. So this goes on for quite some time. It's quite successful, and then at some point the city is attacked by barbarians. And the barbarians kind of, Mad Max kind of thing. They're very power hungry, controlling, the typical post-apocalyptic jerks. And so they take over the city. And they kill the queen. So the city does not have a queen. They break the computer. The city does not have the AI. And the barbarians take over. And they install themselves as the ruling class. A resistance rises up, And there is one woman who is very adamant about being in the resistance, and you know, she really, really, really hates the fact that these barbarians have taken over the city. But then she starts having these dreams, and the dreams are literally about the city itself. Like, she understands things about the city, and it even provides answers to her. Like, she shouldn't know some of the things about the city, but she does because of these dreams. Essentially, the city AI actually had a backup. Yeah. And it has finally reached out and found its new queen, which is her. And so they're, you know, throw out the barbarians, yada yada, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, so the Queen's Descent. I really, really am looking forward to working on this one, because it's going to be exploring the concepts of love and desire in a non-physical, non-sexual way. And, you know, that kind of, I love doing things like that, so, you know, I'm very, very excited about it. Plus, you know, the whole idea of connecting to this information source with just your mind is very intriguing to me. Speaking of connecting your mind to an information source, our last whip, number 5, is Psy-Hacker. And I have been tossing this one around for years. I just haven't had the time. I have to prioritize what I'm writing, and sometimes that prioritization isn't necessarily what I want to write. It's what, you know, needs to be done in certain orders. So you have Kay, who he has a heart issue, and in order to monitor this heart issue, he has to get a specific kind of monitor, and it hooks him up through wetware into the internet. It's an unfortunate aspect of certain monitoring devices that people who have these devices have to be permalinked, which is to say that, you know, there are people who, everybody can get onto the sort of psychic internet at any point in time, but permalinking is not considered healthy. The only people who would do it are people who have to because of these medical devices, or hackers. And hackers can hack your brains, which is kind of why, you know, you don't want to be permanently, because it really opens you up to being hacked. You know, there's a certain aspect of like psychic ability that seems to be linked to the ability to psy-hack, but psy-hackers are considered really, really low. Like, it is a violation to hack someone. So, you know, Kay is like trying to figure out how to deal with this situation where he's permalinked, because like there's always this thing in the back of his head that is connected to the internet, and it takes getting used to. He has to learn to navigate all of the people who are online all of the time, you know, how they perceive him because he's permalinked. Well, you know, he's getting used to this. He's kind of finding his groove again, and then he gets flagged as a potential hacker. And he's like, wait, what? But once you get flagged, you know, they're going to figure out, you know, they're going to find you, and not many people come back from that. He goes on the run and is trying to figure out what the heck is going on and why he's being flagged, and, you know, things like that. So there's like this whole like epic chase, both within the virtual world and in the real world. He has to deal with all of these dangers associated with being flagged as a hacker, and, you know, even to figure out what it means to be a psy-hacker. Okay, so those are 5 more whips that I am working on and such. You know, the thing is, at least 3 of those whips I did not have last time I did one of these videos. So that whole idea that, you know, I have years and years worth of writing if I don't come up with anything new, sorry guys, I came up with new stuff, and that's the way it goes. Feel free to send me a message browbeating me into writing faster. I actually do enjoy that because I'm kind of a masochist that way. Announcements. Once again, I am on Our Own Worlds, which is a website promoting marginalized authors. Feel free to check that out and look at the insane number of articles that we post about writing, about fiction, about fandoms. There's some beautiful stuff on how swordplay works, for, you know, like real swordplay. So there's a lot of varied and wonderful information, plus a few games that are just thrown in for fun. I have a Discord server, so you can literally come and harass me. For some reason, with this quarantine and everything, I have just completely moved most of my social activity onto this Discord server. Well, not that Discord. I'm on like 8 Discord servers. It is insane. It is absolutely crazy. And I love it because, you know, as an introvert, I can just be like, okay, we're gonna just pause this whole thing for a little bit and recuperate. But at the same time, I can go back and talk to people. So the link for that is below. Join my Discord server. I will be doing some polls on Patreon that will be public, so you don't actually have to be a paying patron to participate in these polls. Essentially, it's kind of a, what do you want to see me do next? I'm going to be updating all of my websites, so if you have any suggestions for me on what you'd like to see on my website, on my social media sites, or anything like that, feel free to send me a message. I'm always up for any kind of feedback, what have you. So links for all of those are below, so you can take a gander, see what you like, see what you don't, and then, you know, be like, oh my god, I can't believe you did that. In the meantime, I will be putzing around and trying to keep everything moving during this quarantine season, and hopefully we'll be seeing an end to this. You know, the thing is, okay, I hope that we see an end to this, but I'm really kind of afraid that we are going to rush the end of this because we all really, really, really want to see the end of this. So stay safe first and stay connected second. Cover your mouth, wash your hands, stay safe. See y'all later. How do we sleep while our beds are burning? It's a rather blank wall, isn't it? Yeah, that didn't help much. Don't stand so close to me. What's wrong with you? The time has come to say fair is fair, to pay the rent now, to pay our share. That's all for this one, but you can see more by clicking on the videos here. Like this video and subscribe to get even more great content. Don't forget to ring the bell so you can get notified whenever I upload a new and awesome video. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and more. Just check out the links in the description. Make sure you also check out the Rune Spells series and my 99-cent short stories. You can get all of that free by becoming a patron and supporting me on Patreon. Stay safe and keep writing!